Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I am taking a look at HBAR. I don't think I ever did an HBAR video, so I am doing it today. But before I do that, the first time I've heard of HBAR was 6 years ago on Mike Maloney's channel. It's called Gold and Silver, so it's right there. You can see it. From Bitcoin to HBAR, Hedera hashgraph documentary. That documentary is 6 years old. It was a part of a series, The Hidden Secrets of Money. It's a really, really good series. So highly recommend. Maybe I'll put a link down below, but just go to YouTube. If you're an HBAR holder or a crypto holder in general, I believe there's 10 episodes. So I would definitely recommend starting on episode 1 and going through. It'll blow your mind. It's a really good documentary about money and the creation of the central banks and how all fiat currency systems come to an end. It's really an illusionary system, right? And that's why we're all into crypto in the first place, or at least that's why I'm in crypto. But anyway, go check it out. So here we go. Hedera hashgraph, HBAR. I think this coin is going to be a big winner. Is it winning today? Not necessarily. Why? Because we're not in a utility driven market yet. We're in a speculative market. And you can have, poo-poo coin go up 50,000%, and you can have Hedera go down 15%. We live in a world where nothing makes sense, right? And I'm here to try to make it make sense. And the biggest thing we have to understand is where we are in the cycle, where we are in the phases, but not just in the chart, but overall on the macro field. And the biggest thing is, right, we are, like I said, in a speculative market. So people are buying and selling based off speculation. People are not necessarily buying and selling based off utility value, because that, my friends, happens once crypto is fully implemented. And the only way that can happen is if we get regulations. And the only way that can happen is if there's some type of event, right? This is my opinion. This is not financial advice. I have no idea if it's going to be right or wrong. I'm just here to share with you my opinion on what I believe is going to happen, what I think is going to happen, right? And especially what's happening in the chart. What we all want to know is price. Where is price going? I think price is very bullish. So bullish case number 1, we have a 5-wave move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That, my friends, has determined the trend, right? So this whole move right here is wave 1. This whole move down here is wave 2. All of this sideways action, which is driving people insane, which to me is the biggest blessing you can ever ask for, because what is happening is it is establishing a base. Anytime you have a trajectory, a wave 1, the price pulls back. So for example, let's take this wave right here, right? And then let's cut it in half. We're going to cut this wave in half. And lo and behold, that's where the price came. It came 50% thereabouts, right? Not necessarily Fibonacci, but 50% of, eyeballing it. So if you just eyeball the wave, 50%, right about there, price correctively came down, and now it's going sideways at that 50% line. That is bullish. I don't care what anybody says. That is bullish. So bullish thing number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bullish 2, correction. Bullish 3, right? We have a correction down to this 50% area, right? And bullish case number 4, we are developing a base. A base. A base is very important. You know what they say, the bigger the base, the higher in space, right? Think of this base. By the way, the base, if you notice, is ascending. It's ascending, right? And we are ascending. And then you can also see this is your trend, right? Obviously. But more than that, it's your what? Your demand line. This is your demand line. And here is your resistance line. But what is the resistance line called? That is your supply line. right? So what's happening here, right? Following this 5-wave move to the upside, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? What's happening here is you have the supply line or the resistance line is horizontal. So it's not descending, it's not ascending, it's horizontal. That's important. That's important to understand. And to me, horizontal resistance or horizontal supply is bullish depending on what the demand line is doing. So you can see what the demand line is doing is rising. And what do we call that? That, my friends, is called an ascending triangle. Obviously, I mean, I'm sure you've known that. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But that's what it is. It is an ascending triangle. So you can play with it all you want. So the idea, right, would be simple idea: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? That's wave 1. We come down for wave 2, and the bottom of wave 2, in the process of wave 2, we're developing a base. And in the process of that base, we are developing what? An ascending triangle, which is what? Gearing up to continue going higher. Now the question becomes, how does that look? What does that look like? Well, before I get into that, what else is happening here? Yes, it looks like an ascending triangle, but that's right. I'm starting easy, and we're going to work our way up to medium, and then we're going to work our way up to, legendary status, right? Hard, right? So the easy thing is identifying 5 waves, ascending triangle. That's easy. So what else could be happening here? Well, it's not beautiful, it's not perfect, but you can sort of see how the price is behaving in this cupping forward. Remember, the supply line is here. So you can see it's cupping into the supply line, cupping into the supply line, cupping into the supply line, cupping into the supply line. Basically, it's like a wonky looking inverse head and shoulders, if you may, right? You're having these series of cups, right? Now, if you have a support line and it's cupping down like this and down like this and down like that, that's bearish, right? But if you have a resistance and it's cupping into the resistance, cupping into the that's bullish. So there you go. That's the bullish case for Hedera hash graph. Am I finished? No, I'm not. So what would be the target, first of all, of this ascending triangle? Well, basically, if that's your triangle, right, potentially, and we're going to get into other things that this is as well, but basically you would just take that and put it there. And your target would be about 24.5 cents, which makes sense because to understand this now it's going to get a little more complex. I don't know if you've seen my previous videos, highly recommended, because I go in detail of what I believe the market does in phases. And a good explanation is to look at XRP. So for example, and also Bitcoin. So let's pretend this is the basically the cycle here. So you have, first of all, you have a rise, a crash, a retrace, reaccumulation, sideways blast off, right? So if you look at Hedera, where's Hedera? Well, Hedera had its rise, it had its crash, but it hasn't had its retracement yet. It's somewhere in here, right? So if we look closely, you can see what XRP did. And what did XRP do? It developed this sideways type of base, same exact thing what Hedera is doing, right? And it also, if you look closely, it was ascending, right? Let me take everything off the screen so it can be a little bit more clear here. So it was ascending, right? Just like Hedera. It had that sort of horizontal resistance, right? But then also it kind of had this little inverse head and shoulders type of thing, right? And what was the net result of that, right? This is very bullish. This is why I'm very bullish on Hedera. It had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It had a crash, right? But then it had this in here, and that's where we are with Hedera. So basically, it went up into a retracement. Now, what happened after that was pretty bad, right? But that doesn't mean that has to happen with Hedera. So for example, we are here. So I'm looking for the retracement phase. Now let's go to Bitcoin. Here's a good example. But before I do that, again, you have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. So rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, blast off, in other words. So here's the Bitcoin price chart back in 2017, 2018 through 2021. So this is a very important thing right here. So check this out. It's the same thing. We have a rise, we have a crash, we have a retrace, we have reaccumulation, we went sideways for a bit and blasted off, right? It's the same thing. So looking at where Bitcoin is now, what do we have? We have a rise, we have a crash, we have a retrace. What comes next? Remember what comes next? So let's go back over here. We have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. So if you come back over where Bitcoin is, what do we got? We have a rise, crash, retrace. What comes next? Reaccumulation, sideways, bull run, or a new bull market. So if this is going to happen, maybe not, I don't know, but that's usually what happens. So as we're in this sort of distribution phase up here, potentially, right? Maybe we have another high, I don't know. But if we are in distribution, kind of like back over here, all the whole market was steadily going up in here. But once Bitcoin topped out up in here, that's when a lot of coins took off, right? As it was distributing in this range. So if we're up here and we're distributing in this range, I'm expecting a lot of coins to catch up. Here's a good example, Theta. So if you can look at Theta, remember, Bitcoin was up here. It already had its retracement. Hedera, Theta, they're down here, right? If they're down there, then that tells me it has to catch up at some point. So rise, crash, retrace. Theta needs a retrace. Hedera needs a retrace. I believe it is going to get a retrace. Why do I believe that? Because I have proof. Now, proof is kind of leery when you talk about analysis because there's never a for sure thing. It could be totally dead wrong. So there's really no such thing as proof. There's a lot of it has to do with probabilities. But if I were to say it was proof, let me show you what I mean. So going back to Hedera, right? Obviously you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You come back down 50%. Now you're in this ascending triangle and you're cupping into the resistance, right? Which tells me we're going to get up here. But we know all that. But what other proof, right? Well, check this out. This, my friends, is called accumulation, aka Wyckoff accumulation. And to me, this is a beautiful match to what is happening with the price of HBAR. You could see right, we come on down, right? We come back up into phase A, up into the resistance. We come back down, we take out this low, we come back up, we don't take out this high, and then we sort of meander. We sort of like have this little cupping in here, right? And then we start to really billow up and continue higher. So let's see, right, if that's sort of what's happening with the price of HBAR. But before I do that, if you guys would be so kind, a little channel like mine really would hopefully deserve a like and a subscribe, and even a comment would really help a channel like mine out. And if you want to see more of HBAR, let me know in the comments. I will make this sort of a more reoccurring asset. But so far, I believe this is the first time I've showed it. So anyway, let's get back into it here. If I put this basically up here, you can see just how beautiful it is starting to look here. Now, it's not 100% perfect, but it is giving me confluence in our other bullish case. Now, so let's start from the beginning. So this is your Wyckoff accumulation schematic 2. Basically, what that means is the price is in an accumulation, right? So this is sort of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, or FUD, right? Anytime the price goes down, 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 and then it goes sideways, that creates a sort of psychological situation on people's minds, right? And basically it's like the depression stage. Now I can pull up as well the market cycle cheat sheet, and you can also see the psychological sort of things people are feeling as the price is basically essentially going nowhere. And it's going nowhere on purpose because the market makers, the people, who have most of the money, are sort of trying to accumulate as much as they can in the direction they believe it's going to go. And they can't just buy all at once on certain areas. They have to take time to accumulate. So it sort of creates this type of pattern you see here. So you can see here, this is the example. Price comes down, right? Then you have this little three-way move to the upside to resistance. Right here, small, but you can see it. 1, 2, three-way move to the resistance. Here's your resistance right here. Now we come down and we make a new low. Same thing on the example. We came down and made a new low. Price then came back up without taking out this high. You could see here, this did take out the high. So there's a little anomaly there, but it's okay because it didn't take out these highs over here, right? I think, to me, that's actually a more bullish sign. So then here's the most important part. You can have two different types of Wyckoffs. One is a spring where this comes and breaks out the low, then it quickly reverses, or you can see how it's cupping, right, meandering, and then going. Same thing here. It's meandering, then continuing to go. So, for example, right, you see this little cupping here, right, this impulse here, right, three-way move here, this down move right here, right? And now, this is, to me, the most important part. Look what happens here before the price explodes. You can see, right? You can see right here the price continuing to rocket to the upside. So if I were to imitate that, we can see something like this. Boom, 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 boom. Something like that. The same thing that potentially happened over here, right? So this is just an example. It's just a guide. It's not there to tell us exactly what's going to happen, but you can kind of start to see what is more probable or what has a more higher probability of happening. And to me, we are at a very interesting area because we are officially testing right here the bull market support band. This is bullish, not bearish. This is bullish. So we have this impulse to the upside. We have this correction to the downside. This correction is coming in at the bull market support band. Now, you can say it doesn't really matter too much because we're below it, we're above it, we're below it, we're above it, and that's actually what you want, right? It's sort of intertwining, right, with the bull market support band. And that's sort of what you want. But when you get that initial pump, you want it to then hold the price. So let's see if it continues to hold the price. So yeah, taking everything off the screen, you can see this right here is, to me, what's happening. So there you go. Now we're getting a little more complex. So to recap, again, we have 5 waves to the upside, come back down. We have this ascending triangle, right? We also have Wyckoff accumulation. So everything's adding up. And then also we have the 5 phases, right? So remember, like, for example, XRP, which, by the way, is happening on the scale now, which is rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. Rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. So the reason why I'm not too saturated in HBAR, I'm way more saturated in XRP. Why? Because XRP is already at the end of its reaccumulation phase. HBAR is barely going into its retracement phase. You see what I mean? So you have to know where we're on the phases. So for example, back over here, again, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. Think about HBAR right here. Doesn't mean it has to go through all that, right? But if we were to paint it on the chart, what could that potentially look like? Well, let's take a look. So, this is the market cap, by the way. It's sitting at $2.32 billion market cap. That's actually a good thing because it has so much room to the upside, right? Now, like if you look at XRP, it's sitting 25, 30 billion. You know, it's going to take much more money for it to move the price, right? But so for example, right, you have a rise, a crash, and now we're going into a retracement. I think the retracement is going to get up here. Then we'll probably swoop down into reaccumulation. So rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation will probably go sideways a bit and then blast off. So that's sort of what I'm seeing here on the price of HBAR. Now I hope I'm dead wrong, right? So if that's our resistance line and you know, we poked above it, came back down, but eventually I think we're going to get way up here. So we're sitting at, I said 2.3 billion. So let me put the actual chart on. Okay, so here's the weekly chart. If I pull a Fibonacci, I mean, we're not even nowhere near the 618, right? At the minimum, you want to see a 50% to 618. So I'll just put a line here and a line there. And I'll put a little box right here. And that's sort of our target for HBAR. At least that's my target. So I believe, like I've been saying, HBAR is in some type of accumulation. Again, bullish case number 1, you have this sort of these cups, right? These cups into the resistance. Sort of like a wonky looking inverse head and shoulder. Number 2, right? You have this ascending triangle, bullish, right? You have a rising demand line that's about to intercross, right? What? The supply line. So you have a horizontal supply line and a rising demand line, right? That's number 2. Then, right? You have Wyckoff accumulation, right? Where you come down in your schematic right here, schematic 2, right? You do something like this, then you continue marching it to the upside. So to me, what would that be? That would fulfill the retracement, just like how Bitcoin is at its retracement levels. Now you could see, here's Bitcoin, look how high it's gone. Right? Rise, crash, retrace. It's already at its 618. It's way up here. HBAR is sitting way down here. So as this is in distribution, maybe it's not in distribution. Maybe we have another wave to the upside and then we go into distribution. Or maybe if we're lucky, the price of Bitcoin continue to rocket to the upside just like it did back over here. Right? So this type of bear market. So you have this type of bear market and this type of bear market. So which one is it going to be, right? This one, you have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. This one, you have more of accumulations, right? Accumulation 1, accumulation 2, accumulation 3, and then it continued marching. Why is this important? Because what's good for Bitcoin is good for HBAR. The reason I'm showing you this is because basically we want Bitcoin to do well. We want Bitcoin to continue on, but if it doesn't and it starts to go in distribution, that still doesn't mean HBAR has to just go down. I still believe it's going to catch up. A lot of the prices of cryptos catch up as Bitcoin goes into distribution. Happens all the time. For example, when Bitcoin was up here distributing, XRP still wasn't even above $1, right? And then eventually, the next month, it flew to the upside. Or for example, up here, a good example is Theta, right? Theta didn't blast off until Bitcoin was up here. So, like they say, Bitcoin has to go first. Bitcoin moves the market first. Once Bitcoin goes, right? That's what we want. But we also want Bitcoin to stop and relax and start to consolidate. Once it consolidates, that's the signal that people are potentially rotating their Bitcoin into the altcoins. So, why is that important, right? Well, let me take everything off the screen and I'll go to the 2-week chart. So, for example, are we doing something like this where we have box 1, accumulation 2, accumulation 3, just like what is potentially happening here? So you have accumulation 1, you have sideways accumulation 2, and now we're potentially going sideways accumulation 3, right? So either to understand HBAR, where it's going to go, we have to understand Bitcoin and where it's going to go. That's why, crypto is pretty complex, right? It's not like the stock market where they have their individuality. With crypto, the best gainers are the altcoins. But it comes with a lot of hard work because not only you have to know where the altcoin is doing, you have to know what Bitcoin is doing. But not only you have to know what Bitcoin is doing, you have to know what the stock market is doing. And not only that, you got to know what the dollar is doing. So you have to know where all these charts are at the same time to figure out, is the environment of all of these assets are they cohesive with each other, right? Is it the right time for all of them to sort of do their thing so that the altcoin, in this case HBAR, can do its thing? And I believe that is true. We have stock market all-time high. We have Bitcoin in its retracement levels. We have HBAR in an ascending triangle cupping into the resistance. We also have it in Wyckoff accumulation. We also have it going sideways, right? So if Bitcoin does this, number one, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. That's number one. Or it can do this: rise, crash, accumulate, markup, accumulate, markup, accumulate, right? We go down, up, and then continue higher. So as this is what we want, right? Either way, even if it's rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off, I still believe we're going to get something like this. So as Bitcoin is going down, right, the market goes down. But as it oscillates to the upside, this is distribution, right? Or it could be accumulation and we continue on. To me, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. I still believe HBAR will have a retracement. The reason why is because if we do come down into reaccumulation, that means we are in distribution. If we are in distribution, that means we're going to go down, up, down, up. What is that called? Consolidation. What do we want? We want consolidation. So here's HBAR, right? So as Bitcoin is doing this, people are rotating it into altcoins, right? So you can see where HBAR is. HBAR is still sitting way down here, right? Bitcoin is all the way up here. So what do people, if you're holding Bitcoin, if you're a billionaire and you're a millionaire or even not, right, just a regular guy, you're holding Bitcoin and you're already at the 618, what are you going to do? You're going to rotate that into altcoins that haven't hit their 618. And what that is theta, right? XRP, that's HBAR, right? But if you look at things like, Solana's already moved up a lot. Why would I want that? Or like Chainlink, same thing. So I'm looking for coins that haven't retraced yet. HBAR has yet to retrace. So as Bitcoin, right, does its thing in here, let me take all that off. As Bitcoin, you can also see on the 2-week chart, we have a 9. So this is telling us, hey, the market needs to cool down. But Bitcoin is still very bullish. Why? Because it's sitting above its bull market support band. We want Bitcoin to come down and test the bull market support band, then come back up, come down, come up, come down. So as it's doing all this washing machine stuff, that is the perfect environment for an altcoin to rally, right? Just like how Bitcoin was over here, right? So you could see as Bitcoin was marching up, a lot of the altcoins, they weren't really doing much. They were going up, but not like Bitcoin. But then once Bitcoin got up to here, that's when the magic started to happen. That's when the rotations occurred. But you could say, yeah, but Brandon, wait a minute. This was at an all-time high. This is much different. This is only at a retracement. And yes, you are totally right. But at the same time, if it is at a retracement and we are in distribution, I still think HBAR has to catch up at some point, right? The reason why, again, as it's oscillating to the downside, Bitcoin, we get these moves to the downside, right? So let me do this. Let me put them both side by side here. I'll remove all that. Okay, so we got to the beginner stuff. We got to the intermediary stuff. Now this is the expert level. This is where we take it to a whole new level. So this to me is like sort of the grand finale of what I'm trying to emphasize here. So number one, right, the dark chart, the dark colored candles, that's HBAR. This right here is Bitcoin. So look at the difference, right? Look at that massive difference. You can see HBAR is going sideways, Bitcoin's going up. That's what normally happens. That's what normally happens. Then once Bitcoin stalls out, that's when the altcoins catch up. And if you want proof, check it out right here. You can start to see, right? We're going sideways in here, right? We're going sideways. This is all sideways for HBAR. But look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going up, 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 right? So if I put a line, this to me, this candle right here was the big breakout for HBAR. But if you notice, look where Bitcoin was at. Bitcoin was already at its distribution. Bitcoin was already, it was over with, right? So Bitcoin was going up, 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 up. Now it's at its very top. It's it. That's it. It's over with. Bitcoin is done, right? The bear market is here. So basically this is distribution. But look at HBAR. HBAR hasn't even gotten started yet, right? Sure, it was going up a little bit, but it didn't start to go parabolic until after we were already in distribution. So you can see that the common theme, and not just HBAR, but if you look at a lot of coins, there's many different examples. If you want a good example, is the price of theta. Go back and watch a couple theta videos if you haven't. Essentially, it's the same story. You can see these candles right here. They're going sideways. You can see Bitcoin is going up, right? As Bitcoin's going up, now HBAR is starting to go up just a little bit, but then once Bitcoin tops out, that's when HBAR really, really explodes. So that's what I'm saying. Now we bring it back full circle and we say, okay, if that's the case, then what could we expect, right? Well, we can see theta or H bar going sideways, right? We could see Bitcoin going up, just like over here. Bitcoin going up, H bar going sideways. Then as it stopped, as it potentially stops, maybe we don't stop. Maybe we have another high, right? And then we stop. So we distribution like this or distribution like this. Whatever the case may be, I'm expecting the price of H bar to come up, right? So if I had to paint it the best way I know how, and I'm not, this is just me guessing, right? Because charts are all probabilities. So I would think it's something like this. So Bitcoin's coming down. We haven't yet met the bull market support band. Let's come down a little further, right? Because what needs to happen here is Bitcoin needs to establish its range. We already know the top of the range, but we don't necessarily know the bottom of the range. I've always stated that Bitcoin at some point will come back down to that 30, 31K area. So maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. Maybe we get halfway there and then we come back up, right? So something like this, something like that, right? So as Bitcoin's going down, right, you can see obviously H bar is going down. But then once Bitcoin starts to oscillate back up, not go on a rampage like this, but just go back to the top of the range, that's when we can see H bar break out, right? And then you can see right here, Bitcoin then comes back to the bottom of the range. That's when we can see H bar pull back. Then you could see Bitcoin going back to the top of the range again, right? That's when we can see H bar really take off, right? Something like that. So now they're both sort of in the same area, right? They're both at their sort of 618 area. Now the question becomes, does Bitcoin continue higher or does it go down into reaccumulation, right? Rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways. If that's the case, then we're also going to see H bar come down into reaccumulation. So it'll be interesting to see how the next 6 months unfolds. But if I were to make a bet, my prediction, right? I don't really do predictions, but you can start to see you have a shoulder, you have a head, you have another shoulder, another head, another shoulder, right? So I'm thinking this guy is going to get up here at some point. I don't know how it's going to look, but remember the Wyckoff accumulation that I showed, right? So let me just get rid of that for a minute. The Wyckoff accumulation says something like this, and then we get higher right here. So somewhere up in here, right? So if I go back, let me just go back to the actual H bar chart. I'll get rid of that. So essentially, my whole analysis tells me we're most likely going to get back up to here at some point. I believe the low is in for H bar, at least locally. Now, like I said, let's talk about the bearish idea, because you always got to have two sides of the coin, right? I gave you the bullish idea. That's what I believe is going to happen. I don't even like to entertain the bearish idea because we're nowhere near that to talk about it. But for the purpose of this video, it's fine. Let's just talk about it in case it happens. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. But before I do that, real quick, what we want to see theta do, or I'm sorry, HBAR do, I've done too many theta videos. Let's go down to the daily chart. You can see, and we're going to talk more about more bullish stuff first, but you could see, look at this. You could see the price doing exactly what it needs to do. Look at the bull market support band. It's coming down in a corrective way. We have an impulse. We're correcting down. Now we're meeting up with the bull market support band. Think of the bull market support band like an energy, like a charger, right? So this is your electric car, whatever, and now you need to come back down to charge your car, right? The longer it charges, the better. So here's a good example with Bitcoin. Bitcoin was an amazing tell. I mean, you can see right here, we broke above the bull market support band, test, 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 continue higher, come back down, test, test, test for weeks, come back up, test, come back up, test, come back up, test, come back up, test. Look at that. I mean, it was perfect. Look at all these perfect hits right here, right? Basically, you didn't need to know any technical analysis. If you wanted to buy the Bitcoin dip in 2017, all you needed was the bull market support band. That would have told you exactly where to buy. So just for some context, now let's go back to theta or HBAR. HBAR, you could see we are right at the bull market support band. Now, what we want is to hold the price. Now, good thing for the price of HBAR, we do have some wiggle room. So here's all the areas of support. So area number 1, obviously the bull market support band. Area number 2 would be this area right here, which is back testing this size. So you can see, right, we go up to resistance, we come down, we break the resistance, we break it, but we never came back down to back test it. So here's the resistance, you break above, you come back down, right? And it's called back testing. You want to back test previous resistance to make it the new support. So you break out, you pull back, you back test, and then you continue higher. So the way the Wyckoff would look would be something like this, boom, 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 and then we just rocket ship out of there, according to the Wyckoff. Now, nothing is ever perfect. So the lowest area we want to keep an eye on is right here at 0.0535. So that would be sort of the lowest area. Even right here. So I would say right there. We want the price to stay above this as most as we can, right? So this would be our last hope would be to keep the price above this area. So we break out, we come down, maybe, now here's a couple ideas. So 5, A, B, C, go. Or consolidate, go. Or, continue to bounce like this and then continue on. Whatever the case may be, I think it really doesn't matter. The point is we want to hold above this and we want to break above this up here, above 9 cents. So we're sitting at 6 cents. We want to break above 9 cents. And ideally, the price would be coming up into its retracement level somewhere over here. So the exact target, thereabouts, right? Well, actually, it'd be closer to 36 cents. So I would say between 30 and 41 cents. I know it's a big range, but we'll know more as the price continues higher, right? So somewhere in there, I think the price is heading in that direction. So Just to recap again, we have the Wyckoff accumulation, we have the ascending triangle, we have Bitcoin in distribution, which is a good thing potentially, right? Or we have Bitcoin above the bull market support band. We have Wyckoff accumulation, right? There's a lot of things. We have the price stalling out at this 50% area, right? We have the price going sideways, which is always good, right? We have the price developing a base. This base eventually will break out, back test, and continue higher. So that's sort of the grand thesis here. Now, it could take another 3 months. It could take another maybe even 6. I don't know. Timing is always very difficult to know, right? Now, the hope is to just get the heck out of here. But we can spend some time in here, maybe hit the low again, and then go. It really depends on how Bitcoin starts to form its range. But I think we're closer than we ever have been before, because we've already printed the base. It looks pretty good. We have the spring phase. We have, right, we're up in the resistance area. We're above the bull market support band. So now let's talk about the bearish idea. So the bearish idea would be this. We come up, and you can say, how's that bearish? Well, because it would probably be an ABC. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, and then we come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what that would be is a big ABC. So if I were to just label it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you would have an A. And now we're going up for B. We're still bullish in the short term. See, it's all about the retracement levels. The retracement levels is the biggest thing you got to know. Because we don't know if it's going to go through the retracement levels. A lot of times it comes back down for reaccumulation, then it goes sideways, then it goes into a new bull run. But sometimes we can have an A, B, C and come all the way down here. So it looks something like that. Let me go a little higher there. So, but the reason I don't like that is look how big the ABC is. It's too big. Look at the ratio between this wave and look how big this wave is. The ABC to me is way too big. That's why I'm not really entertaining it. What would more likely be the case if it was going to come back down, right? We still come back up, but then we come down into reaccumulation. So here's your resistance line. So we break above, we back test, back test, back test. We develop another base on top of this base, and then we start to go up. That would be sort of my ultimate idea there, is to, trying to not be too bullish, but also not too bearish. But you also want to be, conservative with your ideas. And there's always a chance things change, right? As more data comes, you're always allowed to change your mind. But as of right now, I see the price coming up, and it really depends what happens in these retracement levels. Does the price can either bust through or bust down. But if it does bust down, I think it's just going to go into reaccumulation before it continues higher. So it's all about, does it happen now or does it happen later? Regardless, HBAR, it's going to happen. It's a really good utility coin. It's got a future. We need regulation. The reason they don't give you regulation is because they're distracting us with the ETF, which is just a silly thing because everybody's jumping up and down. Bitcoin ETF, Bitcoin ETF. But if they were real Bitcoin leaders and things like that, they should understand that a ETF is nothing but a security, right? XRP is not a security. HBAR is not a security, right? XLM is not a security. Theta is not a security, right? But the Bitcoin guys, they say it is a security, right? Meanwhile, they're jumping up and down, loving the fact that they have a Bitcoin ETF, when in reality, a Bitcoin ETF is just a repackaged security. Basically, the banks came out with the idea, hey, let's give them an ETF, they'll stop harping, Congress to pass regulation, because it's all about Congress. We need Congress to pass regulation so that BlackRock and their clients and their institutions and the hedge funds and all the big billionaires can go in and finally have access to crypto, and more importantly, implement crypto into today's society. But they don't want that. The banks don't want that. Why? Because it's a threat. It's competition. They don't want decentralization. They want CBDC centralization. They want to control every aspect of our lives. They don't want you eating meat. They don't want you using their water or their electricity. They don't want you using their assets. They want to use the assets for themselves. They look at us like slaves, unfortunately, or smurfs, right? They don't want us free. They want us under their control. And that's why I urge, go back and watch. I'm going to put 2 documentaries in the comment section or the description. I want you to watch those I don't care what it takes. I know they're long, but they're so very important. I think they're 2 of the best documentaries you'll ever watch. I can almost guarantee it. As far as, and if you think you know about the banks, believe me, I thought I knew everything about the banks and how they work, the Federal Reserve. We live in a central banking fiat currency system. They print money out of thin air. They loan it to the government with interest attached. Then we, the taxpayer, have to pay it back plus interest. What sort of rigged deal is that? It's unsustainable. It's not real. It's an illusion. I thought I knew everything, but trust me, these documentaries will blow your mind even more than that. It's insane how through, going back to the 1600s and the 1700s, the 1800s, right? We had their first central bank. The people rose up, defeated them. We had the second central bank, Andrew Jackson, the banking war of 1812. We got to know our history. Led the charge, ended the second central bank. Now we have our third central. They always find their way back in the door, right? This time through the Federal Reserve, right? It's not federal, and there's no reserves, and it's not. Why is a private entity allowed to control our entire monetary system? Our entire monetary system should be completely open source, decentralized, not a dictatorship that succumbs to no regulation or an audit, right? Remember, audit the Fed, They don't allow that. They will not allow that. That is why we have to educate ourselves as best as we can so that they don't play these games anymore. The Federal Reserve, they speak. Powell, he's not the leader of the Fed. He's just a talking head. The real leaders are, you don't know their faces. You don't know their names. They're in the shadows. They are the ones pulling the strings, not their puppets, right? So it's just like Trump and Biden. It has nothing to do with that. It's about who's controlling, right? Who's controlling who? Who's the real puppet here, right? Joe Biden is just a puppet, in my opinion. He's just, he doesn't even know what day it is. And you almost kind of feel bad for the guy. Like, he's just going, like, you would think you would just want to relax and kick up your feet and enjoy your final years, but I just don't get it. He's not going to be around much longer. But I'm not trying to be political. This is not a political channel. But to understand the basis, the fundamental nature of crypto, you got to have an understanding of the political system that is being triumphed over the central banking system, right? So anyways, that'll be it for me on this. If you're holding HBAR, you got nothing to worry about. I'm very bullish. It could take time, right? Like Warren Buffett says, the stock market or crypto market, it's a device. That's what it is. It's a device. It's a device that transfers wealth from the impatient to the patient. So if you're staring at the screen 24/7, 24/7 looking at the screen, checking the price every 2 hours, it's just going to wear you out mentally. Don't worry about it. You buy, you hodl, you go about your life. You don't have to deal with it. For me, I'm an analyst. I like to look at the charts, right? I enjoy it. But if you're a simple investor hodler, there's no real point to do that. To me, the point is to position yourself and continually accumulate, because we have to know the basis, right? Which is what? The countries are de-dollarizing. They are getting out of the dollar. The central banking system is dying. The Federal Reserve System is dying. They want it to die. Why? Because they want to implement their new system. But at the same time, we have crypto running parallel to the old system and to the system they want us to be in, which, by the way, is going to fail. So, a good channel is Gregory Mannarino. Go to YouTube, type in Gregory Mannarino. He's a good guy to follow. He sees right through the BS of all the crap that they're trying to pull, right? So, you buy your gold, you buy your silver, especially silver. I think silver is going to be one of the biggest winners. But more importantly, crypto, right? Gold, silver, crypto, guns, ammo, food, water. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, right? Because they always talk about a cyber attack. Maybe that's the event that they're going to try to pull. They pull down the banking system, they pull down the financial system, they hack, they cyber attack everything, right? Maybe that's what they do. And then you scream up and down, going insane, where's my money? Where's my money? It's in the bank. Let me get the money. They don't have the money. It's gone. We can't get in. Oh, but here's what we can do. We can make a new system and we'll credit you back your old money. Oh, yes, I'll do that. No, don't do that. Right? They're going to play these games, but I digress. I'm just speculating, right? I could be totally wrong. Maybe the Federal Reserve is your best friend. I don't know. But if you watch these documentaries, I like I said, I highly recommend watching it. It's very interesting. It's long, but if you watch it, I swear to you, it's going to change everything. I've seen tons of documentaries, tons, and nothing compares to the ones I'm about to show you. So, like I said, if you're holding HBAR, again, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off, or we get into our retracement levels, we continue to blast off, or less likely A, B, C. I don't think that's going to happen. I think all the decisions are going to be made up here. So far, we're sitting down here. And we're sitting on the bull market support band. So, to me, it's bullish. I want to see support get held in here, somewhere in here, right? Maybe we go down a little bit more, but eventually I want to see a bounce. And I believe a bounce is coming. If you could take anything away from this video, a bounce is coming. And watch the documentaries. And I will catch you guys. If you want more HBAR and more updates, let me know. Right? Because I get a lot of feedback with XRP, with Theta, with Bitcoin. Not so much HBAR because I've never done it. But if you like this and you want more, let me know. Like the video, comment, subscribe. And hopefully I will see you on the next one. Cheers.